Si le Portugal a cette image de pays haut en couleurs, il le doit à sa nature riche, dont une côte littorale gigantesque, mais aussi à ses habitants. Pour être à l'image de son peuple, le pays devait bien se vêtir d'un abri à la hauteur. Le foyer des Portugais est à leur image, unique. C'est alors que les maisons se sont parées d'une couverture qu'on nomme ici Azulejos.
L'Azulejos. On pourrait croire, de par ses teintes souvent bleues et blanches, qu'il vient du mot azul, qui signifie bleu en espagnol et en portugais. Mais il tire en réalité ses origines de l'arabe al-azuleri, qui signifie petite pierre polie. Car ce sont les Maures qui introduisent ces petits carreaux de faïence, d'abord en Espagne, puis en Italie au XIIIe siècle. Et ils arriveront au Portugal 2 siècles plus tard, lorsque le roi Manuel Ier se rend en Espagne, et les découvre dans les palais de Saragosse et de Séville. À son retour, il décide de décorer les murs de son palais à Sintra en 1503. Mais bien plus qu'une simple imitation, le Portugal va s'emparer de cette technique et en faire partie prenante de son patrimoine, jusqu'à ce que l'Azulejos devienne un véritable symbole du pays. C'est à ce moment que certains ont compris l'enjeu qui se tenait face à eux. L'Azulejos avait besoin de gardiens pour conserver ce patrimoine. Tiago est l'un d'eux. Suivant les traces de son grand-père, il tente de conserver et de défendre la tradition de l'Azulejos, qui est aujourd'hui pour beaucoup symbole de désuétude.
Well, very personally, any Portuguese person that comes in here recognizes a tile. So it's part of our visual history, if you want to call it that. But these tiles are in everybody's like grandmother's kitchen or bathroom or whatever. So every Portuguese person really has an interesting connection with this with these tiles, because they're still everywhere. You know, there's they stopped producing in the 90s, but you know, you have such old buildings still everywhere. I mean, not that old, of course, but from the 50s and 60s that were done at the time with these tiles, and throughout the time, people just keep living in the same places, and so it's like it's this. It's sort of either like the skin of your house. You can't get rid of it. It's there forever. I mean, you can get rid of it, but it's still very present. So it's interesting because Portuguese people can sometimes hate these tiles, or talk bad about them, like, oh, they're very tacky. They're like grandmother's tile. They're very just unfashionable, not trendy at all. But in the end, I think we do value them, and if you grow up in a kitchen with a tile, you always, it's sort of like, you know, the same way people give meanings to tattoos, the tile has a meaning to you. And if you lose a wall with a tile where you grew up, like eating breakfast since you were a kid, then it kind of stays with you. At least it's my case with my grandfather's old warehouse, which the place had to be demolished because it was a illegal neighborhood at the time, so everything had to be demolished. It's one of the places where I grew up, and I wish I could visit. And I have dreams like almost every month I have a dream about the warehouse. I never stop dreaming about it because I wish I could be there again. And the tiles are always connected to those memories. Like, oh, that's the kitchen tile. That's where I grew up, etc. So I think you always have you can't run away from these things, even if you find that the tile is not trendy.
Au-delà d'un aspect esthétique absolument indéniable, L'utilisation de l'Azulejos tient beaucoup à sa praticité. Après le tremblement de terre en 1755, qui détruira la quasi-totalité de Lisbonne, en faisant près de 60 000 victimes, l'industrialisation se développe. Afin de produire davantage et à moindre coût, pour reconstruire la ville au plus vite, les Azulejos sont alors recouverts façade, intérieur de café, église.
So this store is very different to my grandfather's store a long time ago, and in a different vocation completely. He started like a construction materials supply business. So anything for construction, he would buy big quantities since the late 70s when he started. It was a great period of construction, the 70s, 80s, even a little bit the 90s. So a lot of tile production happened, and so there was a lot of stock that was easy to buy, and there was just a lot of leftovers. So yeah, over the years he became known as, you know, since he bought the leftovers of many companies, if you broke a tile in your house, you know, my grandfather has all the leftovers, you couldn't go anywhere else. And if you went to another shop, they would always point at my grandfather, because he would just always have these small amounts but huge variety of tiles. When you know, when our grandfather passed away, we thought, you know, we always thought like, well, we can just sell everything, who cares, and move on with our lives. But we felt a responsibility, not to be arrogant or anything, but sort of a responsibility as in like a national cultural heritage that, you know, my grandfather collected for so many years, and it would be a shame if they just went all to the trash or whatever, which would be very possible in many cases, I think. When he passed away, we had so much stock still that we decided to open up a shop. It made sense. We had a lot of, and still have a lot of stock. In parallel, we keep cataloging and archiving all of our own stock. So we never sell everything. We always keep some of each tile, because in the future we don't know. I mean, we wish to participate in any way in some sort of preservation of these tiles, and so the least we can do is make an archive for now. Just sort of keep collecting and archiving. Like even sometimes we had the national, how do you say, the national TV channel was making a soap opera from the before the revolution and then after the revolution. They did both series, and sometimes they contacted us to look for tiles for the sets. Like, well, we need the tiles from that period. We want to put it on the sets to film. You know, even when you're making a fake old Portugal, there was this need for the tiles, and it's that's funny. That heritage part.
Le carreau de ciment s'est invité dans la vie des Portugais et l'a accompagné dans sa reconstruction. Comme un symbole, on comprend alors l'entachement des locaux pour ces petits carreaux. C'est ainsi qu'il est entré dans ce qui compose l'identité de cette nation. Et des petits carreaux, le Portugal en a produit, de façon presque incommensurable, au XXe siècle. À cette époque, la production était absolument faramineuse pour l'échelle du pays.
I mean, if it's like quantity, we have millions of tiles. That's easy, yeah. In quantity, like piece, like by piece. But in terms of pattern, you know, at the shop we have maybe 300 and something. I could remove everything from this wall and put all different ones that are my favorites, like from the archive. But they're too rare. I can't sell them. They're protected forever in a box, archived. Yeah, I really like relief tiles because for some reason I only see these tiles. There's exceptions, some exceptions, but very few. I only see relief tiles outside, and I don't understand why, because it would be so great to have a bathroom, for example, with this. You could like, if you had this in the shower, I would like lean on it in the shower or something. makes total sense. There's a touch part to it, and if you have it in the balcony, which is the usual, the balcony, like you're not going to touch the balcony. That's dangerous. So I don't know why it's not inside more. Generally, people like exotic things. You know, they have their country and they love their country, but they also like to see other things. And you know, blue and white traditional, like this or this, is everywhere, and it's like, for example, in art school or maybe even history class, if you ever study like the tiles, like a little bit, they always show you these ones, like the really traditional. And of course I value them. When I was a kid, I didn't value at all. I was like, no, I hate them. They're always the same. They're very, very pompous, full of flowers. I don't like them. I realized how complex they can be, how interesting, and how they are connected historically to different art movements and influences that affected Portugal. But in the end, I like to search for more different things that I don't see very often. I started to like more organic types of printing where, you know, like this is very direct, for example, or this is very direct, very simple, ta-ta-ta-ta. And then these, it looks like there's a little bit more space where the ink and the pigments were sort of reacting to something, especially when each tile has a different reaction. That I love, because then you have an organic wall that doesn't repeat. What else? And we think it's super interesting, even if these tiles are not the most interesting or the most, you know, they're not hand painted, they were mass produced, there's a whole industrial, commercial part, but at the same time it was so massive, it's very much in our collective Portuguese memory of seeing these tiles all of our lives. I mean, we wish to participate in any way in some sort of preservation of these tiles, and so the least we can do is make an archive for now, just sort of keep collecting and archiving. And then someday it would be great to show these tiles, because eventually, when I'm old, they're going to be really old. So then that's more interesting, I guess.
Si l'Azulejos produit de façon industrielle traîne avec lui une mauvaise connotation, il est pourtant celui qui habite les souvenirs de chaque Portugais. Beaucoup ont grandi dans cette ambiance colorée aux mille patterns, et aujourd'hui encore, il est présent sur les façades, dans les cuisines et les salles de bain, partageant leur quotidien. Pour Tiago et beaucoup d'autres, il est aujourd'hui un héritage culturel mais aussi familial, où se mêlent sentiment et patrimoine national. Un héritage qui implique ses responsabilités. On espère que ce nouveau format t'a plu. En tout cas, nous, on aimerait énormément le développer parce que c'est un peu le but de cette chaîne, de rencontrer des gens intéressants et de les mettre en avant à notre petite échelle. Donc n'hésite pas à nous dire en commentaire si tu aimes ce nouveau format, si tu as des idées, des commentaires, voilà. C'est vrai qu'on aurait pu filmer un artiste qui peint des azulejos à la main. On y a pensé. Quand on est tombé par hasard sur Tiago et son histoire, ça nous a énormément touché. Déjà ce côté d'héritage familial, toute son histoire, elle est super riche. Et surtout, on a réfléchi, on s'est dit que le côté artistique, il est très connu, même à l'étranger. On a cette image du Azulejos fait à la main, etc. Et finalement, ce que Tiago nous expliquait et qu'on a trouvé totalement juste, c'est que ces Azulejos que lui a en stock chez lui, bah en fait, c'est ceux que les Portugais connaissent partout. Et c'est ceux qui sont faits en usine, donc qui sont souvent un peu rabaissés parce que ouais, ils ont été faits à la chaîne, beaucoup sont identiques, on va dire. En même temps, c'est ceux-là qui ont habité les cuisines et les salles de bain de milliers de Portugais, et c'est ceux avec lesquels Tiago et les autres ont grandi, et du coup, c'est vraiment ceux-là qui ont touché les Portugais. C'était important pour nous.
Et c'était aussi important pour nous de te montrer que, en fait, c'est un enjeu d'aujourd'hui pour les Portugais de conserver cette culture des Azulejos, des pièces, etc., de tout archiver. Ça a tellement été une grande échelle dans le XXe siècle, les Azulejos. Ouais. Aujourd'hui, c'est beaucoup moins le cas et c'est peut-être moins tendance pour les jeunes. Par contre, ce qui était très important pour Tiago, c'était de pouvoir archiver et conserver en fait les pièces qui sont rares, et pouvoir documenter tout ça, parce que c'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, sa génération, même la génération après lui, ont connu les Azulejos chez leurs parents, les anciennes maisons. Par contre, peut-être que dans 100 ans, ce ne sera plus du tout le cas, où il restera juste des grands monuments qui sont remplis d'Azulejos.
Ouais, qui sont entretenus.
Donc là, ce sera important. Son travail,
il est énorme.
Il est énorme.
Son travail d'archive.
Ouais.
En fait, il le dit lui-même, il a des pièces rares qu'il garde, où il nous a parlé. Et c'est complètement fou de ce projet de vouloir tout répertorier pour ne pas perdre ce patrimoine hyper important. Et en même temps, bah, il partage aussi, parce que quand tu achètes un petit bout d'Azulejos que tu peux remmener chez toi en France ou je ne sais où, bah, en fait t'emmènes avec toi une partie du patrimoine portugais, et ça il le fait bien sentir, je trouve.
À très bientôt.
À très vite.
Au revoir.